me, what would be most useful for you in our conversation today?
I mean, I think just going over my questions, would probably be the most useful to get out of this. I don't really have any like pressing, um, like issues or anything. I absolutely, you know, thought of beforehand. But yeah, I just think one of my questions would probably be, the best use of time.
Okay, so what's the biggest question on your mind?
So when I am doing logic games, like I just don't see all deductions right away. Like I was doing one last night. I think it was logic game, maybe 69. I can't remember, but I'll maybe look it up. But like, I was like marking them off. Like I had deductions, but then I go and watch yours, and you had like four more deductions than I have, and I'm like, that is so obvious. Like, why didn't I see that? They were just like right there too. So like, I don't know if there's any tips really, or just doing more games probably is the best advice. I'm guessing.
Well, how many games have you done up to this point?
Oh, I would say 30, 40 probably. Maybe I know, like I have a lot more I can do.
Yeah, I mean there are nearly 100 released exams. So
Hmm.
you've got about 400 games you could work on. And
Okay.
so 30, 40 is a good amount to get a basic familiarity and exposure to
Hmm.
the different game types. But there are many more available to you. And then of course, you can also redo the ones you've already done.
Of course.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of value in redoing games to see the patterns and to better see the inferences.
Yeah. I
Now, as
have
for
redone
yeah,
a couple, just trying to like redo them. Like I'll use your diagram, like your diagram sometimes, and just try to like use your diagram to answer them. Um, After I diagram it and I didn't get all of them, just to make sure I'm like looking at it correctly and at least um thinking about the questions properly. But like, yeah, the diagramming is where I mess up, is where I just don't get them all. I don't know why. I mean, sometimes I do. Like the number game, I was really good at that one. Like that one was easy. There's a couple other ones that like are easy, but like I feel like that's just where I drop the ball.
yeah, well, as you said, more practice, more familiarity will help. And you'll see my explanations on video. That's just my way to do the game. And that's
Hmm.
also not the only way to do it. And it's also not the only way I might do it. I
Yeah.
might do the same game on different attempts and solve it different ways.
Okay.
And there's no one perfect way. Some people
Yeah.
like to make a lot of inferences up front. Others like to do more work over the course of the game. So it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a competition to see who can make the most inferences up front. Of
Okay.
course, it's nice to be able to make them,
Yeah.
and they might pave the way for you to solve the game and the questions more efficiently. But there's also the time involved. So you got to
Yeah.
decide. There's always trade offs, right?
Uh-huh. So like that's what I find that, but like when I make the most inferences and I really do a good diagram, I answer that's when I do the best, like when I'm able to. So like I guess I've kind of been really just stuck on that, where I'm trying to really make a great diagram and have everything set up properly. But I'll just keep practicing it.
Yeah, keep
Like
practicing
just
it.
the way I do it, just I'll just keep pumping away, and hopefully I get a system down and just keep seeing them.
Yeah, there are one or two things you could be looking for to help you
Okay.
make inferences up front or make multiple main diagrams. One thing to look at is if there's a particular variable featured in multiple rules.
Mm, yeah.
Oftentimes you can connect those rules together to make an inference. And so a very simple example, of course, would be A requires B, B requires C. B
Yeah.
is in both the first and second rule. You can link those together.
Okay.
Or if you see a particular block of variables that is especially limiting. So hypothetically, a game that had 5 slots, but only a block of 3 variables, like A, B, C as a block must appear consecutive in that order. Well, they could be on 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, or 3, 4, 5,
Okay.
assuming no other rules. So you could make 3 different major diagrams based on the placement of that block of variables.
Mhm. Okay. Um. Okay. So, like I work full time. I I'm finishing school as well. I'm just like, and I just feel like my LSAT is like always the thing that ends up getting pushed back, you know? And now I'm coming down. I've already taken it once. Like I'm taking it again. I have to do good. Like I'm just having trouble setting aside enough time. Like I've been better about it. I've been getting to at least some type of studying almost every day. You know, on weekends I can do more. And if I'm off work, of course I'll do more, but it's tough, man, setting aside like at the end of the night. Is it like, if I don't get to it to, let's say like 10 or 11 at night, is that still worth it? Like, do you think it's still worth it for me to go and try to answer a few questions or watch a few videos or something at night?
Well, how tired are you at that point?
Some nights I'm tired. Some nights I don't feel that bad. Some nights I feel like you know, am okay.
Well, I would just gauge your energy level. You know, you could say if you're at a 7 or above, it might be worth attempting. Mm-hmm. But if you're 0 to 6, maybe not worthwhile. Because of course you don't want to do it when you're fatigued and then not performing at your best. Because then you'll just get discouraged if you get things wrong. But if you're still feeling relatively sharp, then it could be worth at least getting a little bit done. Yeah. But the bigger question here, I think, is the LSAT falling by the wayside because the other obligations are always more pressing. Yeah. So when's your test date?
March 30th.
Okay, so we're speaking now mid-February, about 6 weeks away.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I want to put in like, you know, 4 hours a day, you know, like I've been getting around like 2, 3, like on weekends I'll do more, but it's the end now, you know, like I can no more put things to the wayside. I've been trying to like do my schoolwork. I've been trying to like make it just for certain days, like where I'll like do it all on one day, you know, to try to like make sure I can do LSATs every other day, because like I've been making Sunday like my school work day where like I really don't get any LSAT studying on Sunday. But I've been trying to make a better schedule of it. You know,
do you use a calendar of some kind?
I got a big, like a whiteboard, you know, like up, but I should use my Google or my like phone calendar. I use it for some events, but I don't use it. Like I don't block off my LSAT studying, which I definitely should.
Well, there's the problem. I mean, it won't be a priority if you don't make it one. So it's as simple as blocking off the time. I like the idea of loading your schoolwork onto one day, because then you could do some LSAT studying on theoretically all the other days of the week. So 6 days or 5 days for LSAT, 1 day for school stuff. And obviously you have work going on as well, but maybe an hour before work, an hour during lunch, an hour or 2 after work. That could be 4 hours a day, even when you have work. And then 1 day off from LSAT to work on your school, and then maybe 1 day off just to rest altogether.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been kind of doing that. I haven't really been, but like I've been taking like my lunch hour and I'll like read or like I'll watch videos or something. I haven't really been doing like questions at lunch, but I probably will start doing that at some point, you know, taking my stuff in. But yeah, I'll start blocking off time and just making sure I schedule everything. I feel like I know what I got to do. I got to just, I feel like I know you. I've watched so many of your videos and, you know, your tips on everything, you know. So I did have one more question. So like I keep hearing like, and I've just seen it a couple of times, like the use of the contrapositive, like to put it in like, you know, the opposite terms, which like I get that. Like I understand like, you know, using the contrapositive, but like, how does that help me then answer the question? You know, like what does that do? You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that help me?
Yeah, totally.
I just wasn't sure.
So let's take, for example, there are a number of grouping in-out logic games that consist of solely conditional statements. So it's a big list of conditional statements. And like I said, you want to link those together when they feature the same variable so that you can make connections. So I gave you A requires B, B requires C. That's really easy to link to get a chain A, arrow B, arrow C, which lets you then infer A requires C. That's fairly obvious. But what if they instead gave you A requires B as one rule, and then not C requires not B as another rule? Those cannot be easily linked as stated because the common variable B is not of the same truth value. One is positive, one is negative. But if you were to take the contrapositive of one of those statements, then they would link together quite smoothly. And you could then see that A requires C.
Okay, I got you. It's like just to help the wording and better understand like just inferences and just understand it better. Okay, I got it. Just to put it in better terms.
Yeah, it's a way to convert information in order to potentially make it more useful to you. Kind of like if you go to one of those coin machines where you can convert 100 pennies into a dollar bill is likely far more useful than 100 pennies are, even though they are equivalent in value.
I got you. Okay, good.
And if you want to see a game or two where this applies, I could give you a couple of examples.
Okay.
One would be Test 33 Game 2, which to me at least is the famous Birds in the Forest game, which is a great example for learning these concepts.
Okay.
Another great game to test these concepts is Test 58 Game 2. Both of these games contain lots of conditional statements where taking the contrapositive allows you to make these chains.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll definitely do those. Okay. Trying to think of what else. So I guess in reading comp, so like what I'll do is I'll just like try to like highlight like the main portion so I can like get an idea of like the main idea. So like I can remember the main idea of the like statement, but I don't really like highlight much else really. Like what else should I be looking for besides like the main idea? Like, you know, should I be looking for any other like things as reading comp that you see like are often asked questions or anything like that?
So the biggest thing to be looking for is the main idea.
Okay.
Another way to put that is what is the author's opinion? Another way to put it is what is the primary purpose of the passage? Meaning, why did the author write this? What are they looking to get across?
Okay.
And you could highlight it, but if we're talking digital LSAT, the highlighting tool isn't that great.
Yeah.
I would suggest not relying on it, but rather using your scratch paper and simply summarizing it in a few keywords to the side.
Okay. So you just like write a few, but just like write it while you're reading, just write a few things to like summarize it while I'm reading.
Yeah, you could do it while you're reading. You could also take a moment after you're done reading the passage to think for a moment, what was the main idea, and jot that down. But I find the students who do best on reading comp mark very little or not at all. And that includes use of the annotation tools, which I really would say just don't use them because they're not that responsive. You don't want to waste time fiddling with that.
Yeah, hitting the wrong word and stuff like that because it is kind of.
Yeah, it's clunky. Yeah. The other thing, you asked about other things to look for, but I think you're on the right track with the viewpoint. And yes, there's the author's viewpoint, but any other viewpoints expressed, you want to make a note of them as well. There sometimes is only one, but there might be two or three, and you want to think about how they relate. Usually, they won't be in direct polar opposition, but maybe one is an adaptation of the other in some way. So it might be an adaptation, it might be a slight tweak or modification, or a qualification, or it could be an update of some kind.
Okay. Thank you. That's super helpful.
Of course.
I feel like I had so many things, and now I'm like,
you could always follow up with me on those.
Yeah.
But I do have one or two other comments for you about the scheduling issue, because you've got, like you said, 6 weeks approximately until your LSAT test date. You've got work, you've got school. You might consider, depending on your work situation, asking them if they could dial down your responsibilities a little bit in the meantime. Maybe not for the whole 6 weeks, but maybe for the final week or two. Some people take the final week off. Some people take the day before off. Some people try to reduce any overtime they have to do, or take on fewer projects. Or if you can delay anything till after the LSAT, that's ideal. And same goes for school. And so if you got classes or assignments or papers, you could see, can you delay a bit of the work on those until after the LSAT? Or could you maybe potentially speak to your professor about delaying something given the LSAT in the short term? And because the March LSAT's kind of in the middle of the semester, if you're on a semester calendar, then maybe midterms are around that time, or maybe at least finals are not for a while. So you
Yeah.
want to think about those things.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. I've started scheduling as much vacation as I can in March.
Good.
I wish I would have took more, now and stuff, but I've got like 4 or 5 days off. I can't take like a whole week beforehand. That would be great. But like I have test day off. I have the Friday before test day because test day is a Monday. So like, and then I have like a few days earlier in the month. So I'm hoping like to just put in like full days those days and just keep it. Do you like on practice test, I score around like a 150. I'm hoping I can get up into at least a 155, 160 around test day. I mean, I don't know. I hate asking if you think it's possible, but like if I put in the work, that's doable, correct? Correct? You think?
It is doable. It'll take a tremendous amount of work on your part to especially build that foundation, and then adding the pacing and the endurance. So I'd really say give it your all, minimize the other responsibilities. And if you haven't experienced a big score improvement yet from your baseline, then there's still plenty of potential stored up there because you haven't done everything you can yet.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Well, I'm really glad we connected, Kyle. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
A lot. So just like the tips for helping with my schedule, great. Just, I don't know why I never thought about just like asking professors or people at work to lessen my scoring responsibilities. That's pretty obvious. And then also the help with the logic games, just any additional information with help making inferences. You telling me that like kind of not to worry that I can make inferences further into the game makes me feel better, because I do that a lot. It's like I'll catch them as I go, but I was getting like discouraged because I wouldn't have them all at the beginning, and I felt like it affected me somehow throughout the rest of the questions. So that definitely was reassuring and helped. But I love all your stuff. Thank you. You've been a big help. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it, Kyle. Please keep in touch and let me know if you need anything at all as you move forward and as you get into the course more.
For sure, definitely. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.